Chelsea came from behind to take all 3 points. First at Napoli in the Champions League and then at home to West Ham. West Ham were 2 up. Chelsea beat them by 3-2. And there was a bit of a scrap at the end of that game, was there not? You don't want to get in a scrap with Adama Traore. But that's another matter. But here's the thing. What makes you more tactically masterful? Having the ability to change or getting it right to begin with. On each occasion, Liam Rosenior rang the changes, and it worked in his and Chelsea's favour. This was Rosenior on that very fact post-match.
It's on me. I hope in time they'll say it was the best decision this club's ever made. But I can't focus on that. This is a really proud club with incredible tradition, history, recent history of winning trophies. They want that, and I want that too. So for a start, for a manager to come in midway through a season with not many sessions and have 6 wins out of 7 games, it's not a bad way to start. As long as the team show the fight and the energy and the intensity that they did in that second half, the fans showed that they'll be with us and they'll support us, and I'm really enjoying being part of this football club.
Simon, you know Liam. I know him, and he's been very helpful to this show, I have to say. Before he got to Chelsea, in his other positions, and I noticed at one stage over the weekend, I don't know if it was an oldish quote, but he says, "No, I'm good at what I do. I'm good at what I do." Yeah. Are you putting this down to Liam being tactically masterful? No. Or should the cynics be right and think, well, Liam, why didn't you get it right before kickoff?
Well, I mean, he set up Chelsea to go to match up Napoli in the game in the midweek, and it didn't work, so he changed it. He changed Chelsea to rest players from the weekend and put in a perfectly adequate group of players that should have been able to deal with West Ham in the first half that didn't perform. So he brought back the core principles of his team, which were other players that he'd left on the bench, perhaps that had produced big performances against Napoli in the middle of the week, and brought them back into the side, and ultimately the outcome was given. But if you look at the starting lineup, there's some big names in that side that should be more than capable of dealing with the relegation threatened West Ham. So that's as much upon the players as it is the coach. The fact that he doesn't blink, the fact that he's got the propensity to change things, is what a good coach should do. His attitude is the problem for Liam is it's seeded in certain sections of the football fraternity, whether it be the football media, football fans, or football punditry, or football orthodoxy. Is he doesn't merit the job. How's he got the job? Why has he got the job? Chelsea's one of the biggest jobs in world football with an enormous amount of backing behind it. Why has Liam Rosenior got the job? And until they get past that, until he drags them past that by keep winning football matches and ultimately delivering something to Chelsea, he will have that thrown at him one way or another, whether it's the way that he speaks, the deference that he shows, the clothes that he wears, or the teams that he set up. That is the principle behind the thinking which is after him at this moment in time. And there might be some merit in it. He has to answer that question. Managing Hull and managing Strasbourg to 7th in the Ligue 1 is not a precursor to managing a club that spends hundreds of millions of pounds on players.
It's an internal appointment, Simon, isn't it?
Oh,
really?
I agree.
But I'm nonetheless, he is doing a very good job, Jim. 6 wins from 7. He rescued things. I think what he tried to do, obviously they won the Club World Cup. They're the holders of that competition. And there was we talk about rest for players. He was trying to do that, Jim. He was trying to manage the minutes. They were in Napoli midweek. That takes a great deal out of you. Easier for West Ham, obviously. They got out of the blocks quickly. Cucurella had to come on and rescue things half-time. That left-hand side of Chelsea. One thing it will show him, though, is that he's the squad, and they have been huge in the transfer market since the new ownership come in. I don't think the players, the 11 that don't play, it's not a good fit what comes in, Jim. There's 1 or 2 there showed that he's going to have to, as often as he can, pick his best 11, and then you're seeing a real performance.
Contextually, you also, without wanting to be mean-spirited, because I want him to be successful, because I like him. I think he's a bright lad. I think he's got a good future, and I think he understands how to work upwards. A lot of managers get themselves into a position, they get authoritative in their views, and then they suddenly forget who they work for, and they forget to manage up. They want the players to work their relationship with them, but they don't want to work their relationship with the people that they work for. So I like that about him, and I hope he doesn't change that. But if you look at the results that he's got, he should beat Charlton in an FA Cup. They did get beat by Arsenal. They should really beat Brentford at home. They should beat a Paphos side in the Champions League. They should beat a poor out-of-form Crystal Palace side when they beat them. And they should beat West Ham. Now, when Liam starts coming up, and Napoli, by the way, despite the fact they haven't been beaten at home for some time, are not the same Napoli from a couple of years ago.
Well, I wonder what we can do in the Carabao Cup semi-final.
Should they beat Arsenal next? So carry
That's what I was
no.
going to say.
No, I don't think they should,
Against
and
Arsenal.
no, I don't think they will. And then, so when you start pitching Chelsea against the teams that one would expect them to be either knocking on their door
Yeah.
or having a go at them,
Yeah.
this is where Liam will then get judged.
What
Not
you
He'll
only-
see this as one of the games.
what do you
that are
both make
principles
of this,
him staying
though?
as
He's-
manager.
well, if he's got the chops.
Yeah.
What do you both make of this, though? When discussing recruitment and transfers, Liam Rosenior says he's delighted to be a head coach rather than a manager. And he believes the sporting department, led by Winstanley and Stewart, employs the best people in world football. He goes on to say, that's the beauty of being a head coach. I'm not an old school manager that's got out the phone and is making calls. I've got the best people, I think, in world football working on those things. I probably see the last 2% of the work they do, which allows me to focus on what I need to focus on, the team, the performance.
Yeah, but it's one
So in
step.
other words, transfers, recruitment, over to you
Yeah,
guys.
of course. So there's a catalogue of things, but that's one step at a time. He's come in, he's trying to stitch information. Obviously, someone who gives lots of information to the team, the way that he wants to play, how he creates that extra player in midfield. But if he's an ambitious individual and a successful type individual, he'll need to have one foot in who we're buying. Because he obviously wants that to relate to the team, because it's been left to other people up to now. And the guys who came in at the weekend weren't quite at the level. So what, is they too young? Are they not fitting the right profile? Will he be able to change? There's all these young players. I'm not sure that's the right mix for Chelsea going forward. So one assumes
But it's
he's going to be saying all
It's
these things.
interesting, and that's right. And I think there's a lot of the fact that Liam is a manager of a certain level at this moment in time in terms of where he's managed before. So stepping into Chelsea is a massive step up for him, and he knows it. So he will be differential because he's not built in a sense of entitlement. And when we talk about managers, Maresca was the manager of Chelsea. I'm pretty sure he signed the midfielder from Leicester that's now gone out to Everton that wasn't successful. So managers are very much involved in transfers. They don't always get what they want. In this day and age, if I was a manager or a coach, which is ostensibly what you are, you're a coach with man management skills, why would you want to be involved in all the shenanigans that go on with scouting players, accounting for the purchases that you've got, being involved in the contractual negotiations? It's a load of old football rubbish.
Well, what for Fergie?
Well, that's 20 years ago. And Ferguson presided over Man United. It took him a long time to get control over a different football club at a different time. If you stuck Ferguson now in the dugout at Old Trafford, coming out of Aberdeen in 2026 rather than 1986, Ferguson will probably be complying with the new orthodoxy rather than what he did 40 years ago.
Simon, doesn't that sort of comment, though, make him look more like a puppet? Because he's basically just saying that I'm here just to pick up with any players that are put my way. It's an internal appointment.
That's what he's saying. You're right, Mark.
Whereas,
That's what he's saying.
Yes,
does he not have to be careful with those sorts of comments?
Yeah, I think he does. But I think also by the same token, the idea that the expertise for acquiring players for all aspects of the football club should actually lay with the sporting directors. They should be the ones that are doing all the hard yards to identify the player, from everything from his ability through to his cost. And then they should be presenting him to the manager and going, this is what we've got for you. Do you have any resistance to this? And if the manager goes, I have some absolute resistance to it, then that sporting director shouldn't be signing it unless they can convince the manager otherwise. But the manager hasn't. How many times are we told these managers are too busy? Now, all of a sudden, when they don't get what they want, they're not too busy. They want more things to be doing.
But they can't afford Chelsea to make mistakes in the transfer market in this window. If the manager has to come across the bows of the current manager, he has to be trusted, doesn't he, to take part in this decision?
His sycophancy goes a bit too far, because I think it's reasonable to assess that Paul Winstanley and his little mate are not the best in the world. Right? So,
Probably not.
So we need to be careful about
They
that
were,
sort of.
weren't they at Brighton?
Yeah.
previously?
They're good, but it's a stretch to say that
They're
the best
not
in the
the
world.
best people in world football.
They're
that's
not.
for sure.
No.
I don't think so.
So
Lee.
get that balance right.
But we know where you're going with it.